Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Monday. It's Daryl here. It's bright and freaking early, man. It's 3 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. Okay, one of yesterday's video, I feel the definite need to talk about this video today. I downloaded it yesterday and I knew I was going to have questions. Let me start right there. I know I've told you guys, if you watch my channel, I've told you guys before, I pick certain times to read my comments. Because once I read them, I become focused on them. And I usually end up doing a video on them, which is what I'm doing this morning. There's a reason that's what happened this morning. But I knew I was going to get these questions. I actually changed the title of yesterday's video, if any of you noticed it. In the first 22 minutes, I went back to check to see how it was going. And there was only one view. Now, the title of yesterday's video that I'm talking about is, the original title was Black Homeless Man Asked Me to Be His Driver Yesterday, Seriously. Okay, and the reason I said it like that, did you guys ever, when you're texting a friend or family, you're texting, direct messaging on your phone, and you misinterpret, like if somebody says, yeah, I'll meet you there. And in your head, you hear, yeah, I'll meet you there. But in reality, after you talk to the person, you realize that the person was saying, yeah, I'll meet you there. You know what I mean? I'm sure it's happened to you guys. And when I titled yesterday's video, I knew when I titled it that this guy was seriously, I was impressed, because to me, this person was so focused and motivated. It reminded me of like when I got clean and sober, when I started painting. If I had told anybody back when I was using, or even back when I was in detox, hey, you think you can give me a ride to the art store, or give me a ride to the fair to show to show a painting I did back when I was using, people would have laughed at me. What would you do? Scribble on a paper with crayons, Daryl? That's seriously, that's what I would have got. And here are just some of my ribbons. I can't even hold them all up. First place, second place, People's Choice. This is the first painting I did that won the awards. This is the very first one. I almost threw this painting away. I did it on an old canvas. It was just a spur of the moment thing, and that's the one that won first place, second place, People's Choice at the Bethlehem Fair. And that's what I saw yesterday when I talked to this man. He impressed me with he stunned me with his forwardness. But he was motivated. He has a goal, and he was looking at me, as me or anybody else that could help him get to his goal. And that impressed me, and that's the reason I did that video yesterday. Titling it. When I titled it, I'll get to the questions, but I almost, I erased deleted the title, because I only got one view in that first 22 minutes. And I knew that people were probably misinterpreting it. When I don't put up a thumbnail, when I don't make up a thumbnail with different faces and scenes like you guys see, in that case, I just let YouTube, the algorithm will pick a picture, YouTube picks the screenshot and uses it. And the picture that the algorithm picked was where I was laughing. I was kind of like this or something like that. And when you read the title, Black Homeless Man Asked Me to Be Driver Yesterday, Seriously, it looks like it looked like I was laughing about it, like it was a big joke. This homeless guy asked me to drive around. Isn't that hilarious? So I was like, oh, this is all wrong. So I retitled the video about paying it forward. The real way that I felt, the real reason that I made that video yesterday, and how I felt about that interaction. I wanted opinions from you guys. And I came right home to make that video. I wanted to do what was fresh in my mind. Because even now, I start to focus on my life and things that are important to me, and goals and things I have to do. And I knew that whole interaction would start to fade. Even so, it was a very animated conversation. It was about 20 minutes long. And there was a lot said, and there was a lot that wasn't said, but was actually part of the conversation. Things I looked at as we're talking. I'll get to that in a second. and the underlying feel of the conversation. And I was still processing that when I got home yesterday, and I'm sure I didn't mention a lot of the stuff. Okay, I want to fill you guys in now. Yesterday, I went to see my family on Sunday, and I shared this story with them. And maybe it was the way I shared it with them, because the first thing I said is he asked me to be his driver, and they kind of laughed. I don't think I'm presenting this story in the right way, like it's a joke. And, I shared it with my family that, this guy, I want to be able to help him without slowing down my own progress. Because I'm still, I'm not in a solid, I'm moving forward, but I'm still a recovering addict. I'm not wealthy or where I want to be by any means. And I don't want to hinder my progress. But I'd like to do something to help him. And that's how I felt when I did yesterday's video. Like I said, so I changed, and then when I looked at the video count this morning, it was almost 300 views. So something happened in between, like late yesterday afternoon, about 2 or 3 in the afternoon. The video had been up for about 8 hours, 9 hours, and it only had 30 views. The second video I did about the trans person, I got to be, because that video got demonetized. I got to be careful how I talk about that. That one was outpacing it already in views. And then all of a sudden this morning, it jumped in views. I don't know if somebody showed this video, if it was talked about somewhere, but it's rare that I see that many views jump like that. Okay. Yesterday too, when I left off the video, or the day before yesterday, when I left off the video, I said I was unsure if I was going to go on my usual walk, the usual path that I take, because I didn't know if I wanted to run into this guy. And I did take the usual path that I took, but he was nowhere to be found, which was unusual because I've been seeing this guy for 2 years, like clockwork, every day at the same place. So I don't know why that is. In one way, I was kind of relieved because I wasn't looking forward to telling him that I had to draw a line and not give him any information, not give him my phone number. But I'm serious about doing what I can to help him. Like, one of my ideas was if I could help him in some way with my YouTube channel, or getting him a channel or something along those lines, something I'm familiar with, something I have some experience with that I might be able to share with him to help him get to his goal. When I first started talking to him, he had earplugs in, and he never talked to anybody except me. And even the first, when he talked, we was just, hi, how you doing? And when I talked to him yesterday, I was impressed because he was very articulate and intelligent. And when you first see somebody going through the garbage and pushing a carriage, and especially just in their own world, with the earplugs in, just ignoring the whole world around them, I'm wondering if there is any mental illness, to be honest with you, and I was surprised when I talked to him. There's another thing he said yesterday too, that there's stuff I was still processing. I first told him that when I tell somebody that I'm in recovery, I usually take it slow. I don't know why. I don't know if I'm not ashamed of being a drug addict, but I usually start off by saying I used to drink and party. And then I'll say and party, and then I'll say, and drugs. I usually started off with I used to drink though, just to kind of ease them into it. I don't want to start off, I was a full-blown heroin addict, which I was. So I usually started off like that. And as soon as I said that, he was surprised, because I got the impression that he didn't even drink or use drugs. And as a matter of fact, he said, you drank? Because I guess I look fit. And the way I looked, it didn't look, it was 17 years ago, 16 years, 10 months ago. So he was surprised. And then he said this, and I'm still processing this. He said people don't talk to me. The people around him, he was saying, don't talk to him anymore because of a comment he made. That he said he couldn't give a crap about addicts, about addiction or about addicts. And that pushed a lot of people away from him. And that his uncle died of addiction. And, I think it was a fast-moving conversation, and I never got more clarity on what he was saying there. It didn't offend me or anything. It didn't bother me at all. If I could understand what he was saying, it kind of made it feel like he never used, but he was bothered by, losing people to addiction around him. It hurt him, and that's the kind of feeling I got from that. Okay, let me read the questions that I got. Why do this video at all? That's one of the first questions I got. And like I said, I really was looking for opinions from you guys. I wanted to share this with you, and it's another, I think it's another example of don't judge a book by its cover. Because when I talked to this guy, like I said, I was impressed most of all by his goals, his motivations. This guy is driven, he sees himself in a place, and I think that's, where he's at now and where he wants to be is a distance. And for him to have that drive and that goal, that impressed me. And I want to do whatever I can to help him. Because I feel that I understand that. Like I said about my paintings, if I had asked anybody what he asked me yesterday, they would have laughed at me. So I could kind of understand this, even though, and that's another thing. So that's the next question I got. So I was looking for your opinions yesterday. I was looking for, what do you guys think of this? Like my blog, I'm not making fun of it. Because that's what I was afraid of when I first titled the video yesterday. That it was going to come across like, hey, this homeless black homeless guy asked me to be his driver. Can you believe that? What a joke. And that's not at all. That's not who I am. And that's not what, the way I intended it. Like I said, when you put something in words and text, and especially, like I said, the YouTube algorithm picked a picture of me, and I replaced that picture because you can't replace the picture. I usually just let the algorithm pick the picture. And it grabbed one of me laughing, and it just gave the wrong impression. And then this morning, it had way more views. This whole video had way more views, and I had these questions. Okay, the next question was, why feel it necessary to mention that he was black? Okay, when I first titled this video, that's the first thing in my head, because it was a part of the interaction. It was a part of the conversation. Not just me, but with him too. He asked me, and this is another thing that I was still processing when I made the video. He asked me if I was Native American. And I think the reason I didn't mention it because I wasn't sure what he said next. He said, because of your hair. And that's something that bothers me because it makes me feel like I'm intentionally picking a hairstyle to make myself look Native American. And that's just something I wasn't ready to talk. I didn't want to talk about when I made the video. He said, because, and then he said this, he said, because you're dusky or dusty looking, and I don't know if he said dusky or dusty, because he was kind of backstepping it because he looked, I was like, yeah, I am Native. I'm surprised that because either a lot of people don't come out and say that right away. I've had people ask me if I'm Puerto Rican or Hispanic a lot of times, back when I was younger, more especially. And, race was, without a doubt, when we walked by each other, there's two different neighborhoods. And I think he assumed that I lived in the rich, what they call Federal Hill neighborhood around the Green. And, and then there right next to it is where the person I talked about in the next video was, nodding out, So it's very obvious the differences in people in this neighborhood. And as we walked by each other, going up and down the hill, I mean, it was very obvious to both of us. And I think that's why it took him a long time to talk to me. Because he also said this. He mentioned about how when we were parting ways, he said, thank you for treating me like a real person. He said that. And then he said, I can't remember how he phrased it, but he said, not everybody has been like that. Or not everybody treats me like you did. And, because he said, not like you. And it gave the impression of Caucasian. You're not Caucasian. It felt like he was saying Caucasian people, I haven't got this kind of, because he picks through the garbage. That's what you see. You see there's his cars going by and he's picking through the garbage every day. And that's really not who he is. And then too, while we were talking, it's a busy street corner. And I'm facing the light and he's facing the sidewalk where I'm headed. Like I kind of turned and talked back to him and was looking at the way we were positioned. And I could see people stopping right on the side of us, kind of behind him at the light. And I could see them looking at us like looking and then looking over again, and the people in line, the cars waiting to pull into Dunkin' Donuts, a very busy intersection. I could see them as I was talking to him. I could see them looking over at us and then looking back. Like it was obvious. It was, it looked, I guess I'm probably dressed in athletic gear. I'm a tall guy. I'm older. He's older too, but we look different. I don't know if they were trying to imagine a conversation or whatever. And he saw that I was like distracted, and he looked over too, and he laughed when he saw people looking over. And that's when he said the part about are you Native American? So it didn't actually come out, but it was part of the interaction yesterday. And you have to remember this too. I came from a small town, where I went to school. I do these videos, and I'm liberal. I consider myself liberal, and I don't feel like I have a racist bone in my body. But you have to remember too, the whole time I was growing up, there was maybe one or two black people, men or boys or girls, in my grade with me. The vast 99% of the people I went to school with were Caucasian. So I got to be honest with you guys. It was an obvious part of the conversation. Now that I've moved to the city, I'll be honest, I'm actually amazed, because I feel like people are more friendly. The people that are more friendly to say good morning to me and are more apt to wave or start a conversation are usually Hispanic or black, and less times they're Caucasian, which kind of surprised me when I moved to the city. This is kind of new to me. I've always considered myself liberal and not racist at all. But this is the first time where I've actually lived in I'm immersed in a multicultural neighborhood 24/7, and it's still, the differences between me and other people are obvious to me. I'll be honest. Maybe some people don't want to admit that, but, there's differences. And that was part of the interaction yesterday. That's why I felt it necessary, because I thought about taking that part of the video title out and just call it Homeless Man Asked Me, or I want to pay it forward to Homeless Man. But that felt like I was leaving a big part of the interaction out, of the feel of the conversation. And if that comes across as prejudice or racist or reverse racism, or like I'm just trying to help him because he's black, I don't, I'm helping him because I see him in a position that I was in back when I was using, but he's homeless now due to whatever reasons. It sounds like addiction played a role in where he is today, but not from his doing at all. I think that's why he's angry at addiction, from saying he doesn't care about addicts. And I see somebody that's very motivated with goals, like I was, and I was impressed by that. This person, from what you see, is a person picking through the garbage every day, but he has goals. He has very solid, real goals, and he was outgoing enough and forward enough to breach that conversation, start that conversation with me. And I'm sure he's brought it up with other people, and that's something that I don't take for granted. I commend. I'm impressed by that, and I want to do anything I can to encourage it, because people didn't do that for me, or I was too afraid to ask. To be honest with you, I was too afraid to ask, and that's something I see in him, is the bravery to come out and ask me yesterday. So I hope that clears it up, and I'm still amazed that the videos jumped yesterday evening. This video's been way too long. I hope I explained some of that interaction and why I titled the video the way I did. I'll be back later with another video. Have a good Monday.